Y&R Spoilers reveal that Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers, trapped for Martin Laurent in a tough battle of minds. An elaborate plan begins to take shape, in the intrigue and danger of the young and the restless. When Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers team up to confront a cunning man, a dangerous game begins. The character they want to catch is Alan Laurent, a man everyone believes is hiding dark secrets. However, Alan Laurent is not someone to be fooled. On the contrary, he is an expert at creating elaborate and complex plans, making anyone who confronts him cautious. Sharon and Phyllis, despite always having conflicts and tensions in their relationship, this situation requires them to cooperate, creating the perfect plan to bring Alan into the light. With Sharon's intelligence and determination to never give up, combined with Phyllis's bold and uncompromising personality, they decide to set up an elaborate trap, aiming to lure Alan into a situation from which he cannot escape. But can Alan, or more precisely Martin, be drawn into this game? The trap is set. Martin enters the game. Martin, with his cunning nature and quick reaction ability like an old fox, is always ready to turn the situation around. He has lived through many dangerous and complicated situations, and can recognize the signs of a trap when faced. Therefore, Sharon and Phyllis must not simply attack his weak points, but must create a strategy that is full of surprises and unpredictability. We can imagine a scene in which Phyllis and Sharon together pretend to deceive Martin by creating an event that he thinks is an opportunity to approach and capture Tracy. With Tracy in custody, the arrival of Sharon and Phyllis into the tense situation not only forces Martin to deal with an outside threat, but also to question the intentions of these women. They are not simply victims, but prey hunting their prey. Martin, despite his intelligence, can sometimes be complacent and lead him astray. Chance the informer. As things begin to come to a head, Chance Chancellor, one of Genoa City's most trusted investigators, receives vital information about the kidnapping case involving Alan and Tracy. Assigned to follow up on the leads, Chance discovers a crucial detail involving a psychiatric clinic in Paris, a place where Alan, or Martin, has been involved in a string of shady dealings. The gas-powered devices used to weaken the victims are linked to the clinic, and Chance becomes increasingly suspicious that Alan is actually Martin, and that his actions are more than just kidnapping. With this evidence, Chance begins to delve deeper into his investigation. He feels he is about to touch upon a truth that even those closest to Martin have not yet imagined. Could Martin be the one behind all these secrets? These questions haunt Chance, making him even more determined to bring this cunning man to light. Tracy confronts Martin just when everything seems to be going according to plan. Martin returns with a surprise attack. Tracy, no longer a weak pawn in Martin's hands, decides to confront him directly in her own room. The tension rises as she confronts the man who has caused so much pain and danger to her family. However, Tracy is not one to be pushed around. With her tenacity and intelligence, she begins to delve into Martin's psyche, leaving him confused and bewildered. The confrontation between Tracy and Martin is not only a life-or-death struggle, but also a clash of truth and lies. Tracy, determined to free herself and her family from Martin's evil hands, realizes that she must do something to change the outcome. But can she escape Martin's grasp, or is it all just a game he has planned all along? With clues about Alan, suspicions mounting, and Chance about to make a big decision about his next move, the story begins to reach its climax. Can Chance prove that Alan is Martin before it's too late? Or will there be a twist that will throw all plans into disarray? Phyllis and Sharon, though they can imagine the difficult situations, can't avoid the surprises that Martin will bring. As the confrontation between Sharon, Phyllis, and Martin escalates, the truth about Alan will gradually be revealed, leaving everyone in Genoa City stunned. Dark secrets, complicated connections between characters, and life-or-death decisions will keep viewers glued to the screen. The situation between Sharon, Phyllis, and Martin Laurent is sure to bring many surprises in the upcoming episodes of The Young and the Restless. Every step they take is fraught with danger, and no one can predict the outcome. Will Sharon and Phyllis succeed in capturing Martin? Will Chance be able to solve the kidnapping case before things get out of hand? All of these questions are still waiting to be answered, promising to create a big shock in the next story. In an unavoidable dangerous situation, Tracy Abbott, who has always been confident and strong, now has to face an extremely dangerous enemy, Martin Laurent, a cunning man with sophisticated plans that no one can predict. Tracy knows that the situation is getting more and more tense, and she needs to find a way to free herself from Martin's captivity. After thinking for a while, she decides to call the only person she trusts, who can help her in this situation, her brother Jack Abbott. With the phone in hand, Tracy hastily calls Jack, hoping that his appearance will help her escape from Martin's hands. But will Tracy have time to leave the room before Martin realizes that she is planning to escape? She secretly fears that if Martin discovers the trick, how will he react, and will Jack arrive in time before things get worse? While Tracy was frantically talking to Jack on the phone, Martin was there, watching her every move. Sensing the anxiety in Tracy's voice, Martin began to suspect that something was wrong. At the same time, Tracy tried her best to stay calm, while trying to give Jack subtle signals about where she was and how she needed help. Martin realized and decided to kidnap Tracy, but Tracy's plan quickly went awry when Martin realized the deception. He began to sense that things were not going as planned. The calm and carefulness that Tracy was showing only made Martin more suspicious. At this point, there was no doubt, Tracy had called Jack, and now she was trying to trick him into giving herself a chance to escape. Martin immediately took action. With his quick steps and excellent situational analysis, he quickly took Tracy hostage, not giving her any chance to fight back. Tracy panicked and realized that things were getting out of control. Martin not only kidnapped her but also made threats that made her even more afraid. "Tracy," Martin said coldly, "do you know, this is just a small challenge so that we can leave Genoa City, a place full of dangers. Just imagine how wonderful our life would be if you came with me, leaving everything behind. We can start a new life, a life where you will be the only one who can capture my heart. You don't need to be afraid anymore, just do what I say." With sweet but seductive words, Martin tried to lure Tracy into the trap he had prepared for a long time. He assumed that Tracy would soon surrender and accept her fate, but could she be convinced by these words? Did she really believe that Martin could bring her a bright future, or would she resist and find a way out? Jack and the support force, Tracy's last chance. As soon as Jack Abbott realized the situation was getting more serious, he had no time to wait. He quickly called the support force and asked them to be ready to move. Jack knew that every decision now could decide Tracy's life. He could not let her fall into the hands of a dangerous person like Martin. The support force was quickly mobilized, but Jack also knew that the seconds were counting down. Meanwhile, Martin continued with his plans, thinking that everything was going well. Tracy, although a little confused and panicked, still maintained the necessary composure. She secretly thinks that there is a chance to turn the situation around, if Jack and the support force arrive in time. The trap that Martin has created is not easy to break, but with the determination of Jack and his companions, the chance to save Tracy is still there. It all depends on whether Martin can be defeated or not, and whether Tracy can keep the strength to fight on in this dangerous moment. The story is not simply about rescuing Tracy. Sharon and Phyllis, who also have a grudge against Martin, cannot sit idly by and watch Tracy being kidnapped. They realize that this is the opportunity to carry out the perfect revenge plan. A plan that will not only save Tracy but also make Martin pay for his evil deeds. Sharon and Phyllis decide to join this confrontation, bringing their own strategies. While Jack's support force tries to raid the place where Tracy is being held, Sharon and Phyllis will create another surprise attack. They both know that if they let Martin escape, he will continue to cause nightmares for them and their families. This is their only chance to end the game with Martin once and for all. When Jack and his backup finally reach Tracy's location, Martin realizes that his trap is no longer secure. Will he be able to escape in time, or will Sharon and Phyllis's resistance bring him to a painful end? The climax of this story comes not only with Tracy's rescue but also with the final confrontation with Martin. As Jack and his support force close in, Martin knows that his time is up. However, like a veteran strategist, he will not give up easily. Martin may try to escape, taking Tracy as a hostage once again. But in that moment, Sharon and Phyllis will appear, blocking his way. Martin's final trap, set by Sharon and Phyllis, will leave him with no way out. The two women, once enemies, will now have to work together to take down this cunning man. The fight will not end with a simple snap of Chance's hand or a simple grab. It will be a tense, sweaty, and determined confrontation, where no one can predict the final outcome. Will Martin be able to escape the siege? Or will justice prevail and Tracy be rescued? The story of Tracy, Martin, Sharon, and Phyllis on The Young and the Restless is more than just a rescue. It's a lesson in resilience, clever strategy, and unexpected moves in the game of power. The unlikely partnership of characters creates a powerful force that can stand up to a cunning enemy. The final trap will surely keep viewers on their toes to see the outcome. In a story as tense and full of intrigue as The Young and the Restless, nothing is easy, especially when dealing with a character as cunning as Martin Laurent. Both Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers were once fierce fighters, but when they decided to work together to deal with Martin, they knew that every step they took would be deadly. After a series of terrible events and dark secrets, Sharon and Phyllis realized that in order to defeat Martin and bring him to justice, they had to work together. However, they also knew that Martin was a very dangerous opponent, and if they weren't careful, they would pay with their lives. Sharon, with her calm and patient demeanor, and Phyllis, who was always one step ahead, not only came up with a simple plan to capture Martin, but also faced unforeseen dangers. The first step in their plan was to trap Martin, which was no easy task. While Phyllis is secretly watching Martin's every move, Sharon has begun to discover his weaknesses. The two women are determined to make Martin pay for what he has done, and this puts them in an extremely dangerous situation. Martin is not an easy target, and he knows how to avoid being caught, even if Sharon and Phyllis create the perfect trap. The biggest question now is, will Martin act rashly and harm Sharon and Phyllis when he discovers their plan? He may not be tolerant of anyone who dares to challenge him, and that makes the risk to Sharon and Phyllis's lives very real. They will face dangers that even they cannot imagine. In this tense situation, Sharon and Phyllis not only crave justice but also want to carry out a powerful revenge. Their every move is carefully calculated, with the ultimate goal of making Martin pay. But achieving justice in a world filled with lies and intrigue is not easy. Sharon, mentally strong but always suffering, cannot bear it any longer when she learns that Martin is still free and continues to harm her family and friends. Phyllis, despite her hot-tempered and unpredictable personality, has admirable perseverance in this situation. Both have a burning desire for justice, but do not hesitate to use any means to make Martin regret. The heart of this story is not only the struggle between the characters but also the internal struggle within Sharon and Phyllis themselves. Every step they take is a decision that can change their lives forever. Can they keep their faith in justice, or will they be swept away by feelings of revenge and anger? When Sharon and Phyllis realize that Martin is a scheming monster, they decide to build a more daring plan to bring him to light. But how to do that when Martin is always one step ahead of them? This is the question they must answer, and perhaps, only a spectacular cooperation between Sharon and Phyllis can defeat Martin. It is undeniable that when Sharon and Phyllis work together, they form an unstoppable force. Although they were once rivals, even sworn enemies, they now realize that they have no choice but to cooperate if they want to defeat Martin. While Sharon uses her analytical skills and strategic thinking, Phyllis brings decisiveness and quickness in tracking Martin's moves. Each has their own unique skills, but when combined, they become the perfect duo, creating surprises that Martin could never have foreseen. With each other's support, Sharon and Phyllis gradually begin to grasp important information about Martin and the dark plots he has carried out. Their every move is carefully calculated, but sometimes it is the unexpected that changes everything. Can Sharon and Phyllis corner Martin, forcing him to face unforeseen consequences? The answer lies in the wisdom, patience, and powerful combination of these two women. As things get more tense, Tracy Abbott is still trapped in Martin's grasp, with no way to escape him. Sharon and Phyllis cannot sit idly by while Tracy is in danger. They know that there is only one chance left to save Tracy and make Martin pay. But the only way to do that is to set a trap that Martin cannot see. Working closely together, Sharon and Phyllis have created an unpredictable strategy. They plan to rescue Tracy, but they don't stop there. They will make Martin pay for everything he has done. This revenge is not only for Sharon and Phyllis themselves, but also for everyone Martin has hurt, including Tracy. With things reaching a boiling point, Sharon and Phyllis will have to make a difficult decision. Can they successfully rescue Tracy without letting Martin escape the punishment he deserves? Martin's downfall, is the end of salvation? As the final trap is set, Martin slowly realizes that things have gotten out of hand. Sharon and Phyllis, with their wits and determination, defeat him in a tense battle of wits. Martin, despite his cunning, finally faces his downfall. Can he escape the clutches of the law? Or will he finally pay for his crimes? In a surprising ending, Sharon and Phyllis not only rescue Tracy but also bring justice to all of Martin's victims. The two are not only victors, but also symbols of resilience and the power of justice. Sharon and Phyllis's story on The Young and the Restless is more than just a fight with Martin. It is a lesson in cooperation, patience, and ruthless revenge. Each step Sharon and Phyllis take brings a new surprise, and the finale is sure to leave a lasting impression on viewers. Subscribe to Y&R to stay up to date with the latest news on our channel.